Hello, this is Casey Smith, and this is my coaching reflection for EDL 695. My plan is to first define coaching, then discuss the key components that came out through classmates and the literature, and then to discuss some of the findings that stood out to me and offer some final reflections. So these three definitions from left to right are the ones that I included on Blackboard on the left, and then my classmate Kirsten in the middle, and my classmate Clay on the right. And in these definitions, I tried to bold the repetitive terms, the terms that had some overlap. And I think that through all those bolded terms, you get a pretty good definition overall, a strong definition of what it means to engage in coaching. And coaching, of course, there are two primary individuals, two primary players, the coach and the coachee. And a big piece for me that really stands out that I really like about coaching is that you get to engage in inquiry with that other person to encourage them to reflect and find the answers really from within instead of having to come up with the answers or come up with the advice. So some of the components that I found were the willingness to listen fully, being capable of being fully present, that should say right there, the ability to self-manage one's own thoughts as the coach. So in the moment of coaching, can I kind of restrain myself and discipline myself and not offer my opinions or my advice or my experiences, but continue to be present and listen so that I can help guide that other individual with reflective questionings. And I really like sort of this underlying philosophy behind coaching, that the idea that the coachee ultimately has the resources and has the answers really within himself or herself. It's just a matter of kind of pulling those out through the questioning and the reflection. And these aspects were outlined by a classmate, which I also went ahead and added the citations for that they provided. The general idea with coaching, especially when in comparison to mentoring, there's going to be a solid structure. There's going to be an agenda, a goal, an objective, and oftentimes maybe even a timeline. That goal or that objective should be measurable. I like the idea of there being transparency in the conversation and being able to say, this is what as the coachee, this is what I'm struggling with. This is kind of where I am with my performance. Here's where I measure myself. Here's where I want to be. And for both people to be able to discuss that and be honest about it. And then ultimately the solution-based, having a solutions-oriented approach is really, really, really cool and really critical to coaching. Instead of just identifying a problem, it's like, let's immediately get to what are the potential options for solutions. So in the findings, coaching, these are from some of the articles that I read, and one of the things that I learned about, because I didn't even know what ROI stood for before these readings, because I'm not a business person and I haven't had much experience studying business, but this idea that coaching can have, as Bauer found, a positive measurable impact on the return on investment. This is something that's going to be really important for businesses. They want to see that. And I think even in the education setting, that would be important. And a lot of times we have to really, we're so obsessed with data, we really have to have data points and we have to be able to prove certain things are worth it. Objectives and the purpose need to be established ahead of time and communicated effectively. This is also one of Bauer's findings, that in order for coaching to be really successful, we should identify, why are we even doing it? What's the purpose? If it's in a corporation or a business or an education setting, what ultimately are we really trying to coach about? Is it something related to the values of the company? Is it something related to performance? And Chandler, Roebuck, Son, and Brock said that education and business settings actually have more similarities than differences in perceptions regarding coaching, which sort of surprised me because I have not in my experience seen coaching the way that I just got done studying it in the educational setting. So in a way, it's a nice surprise to see that those perceptions are similar, because I know that coaching is much more prevalent in the business world. And a lot of times coaching is really most helpful with micro level outcomes. So if you are in a organization or a culture where there's low employee morale, or there's a particular type of negative culture that has been developed, or there's conflicts in general in terms of values and belief systems, that a lot of times is going to be out of the reach of the impact that coaching can actually have. I thought that was pretty significant and important to recognize. As powerful as we know coaching can be, how do we overcome those sort of really large, impactful aspects of a culture within which one might work? And finally, having a disciplined and purposeful approach to coaching is crucial, which is what McDermott found, which really aligns with Bauer's findings. For me, for positives, I really like, as Dr. Carr told me I probably would, I like, now that I know exactly what coaching is, or at least have an introduction to it, I like the feel of it being sort of short-term goal-oriented, and I really love solutions orientation, because that's the type of professional that I am. That's the type of individual I am. I enjoyed listening to Garvey's explanation of the GROW model, as well as the other video cast. I think that would be a really easy coaching model to implement immediately. And I definitely like the wrap up option for the W, where you walk away from a sitting or a setting with the coachee with an actual action plan written out. And for me, I think coaching can be applicable across situations, not just professional settings, but even other personal settings. And I think in my daily practice as a teacher, as well as in the curriculum courses that I have been in the program so far, I find a lot of similarity and a lot of like ability to marry, especially when it comes to the inquiry process. That's been something that I've really delved into this past semester, especially as a teacher, on daily as well as through the studies. So I really like how there is a connection there, and it just feels very natural, because as a teacher, inquiry is something that I do all day, every day, if I'm doing my job well. And finally, both mentoring and coaching are kind of what I've learned are very applicable to a position that I want to propose to my school board, that I really have a goal of doing probably by the time our class is over, kind of in the summer months. So I'm thinking ahead about the final assignment being really helpful to the proposal that I want to create, and I'm still kind of mulling that over. As far as negatives or deltas, the district that I work in terms of top-down leadership, struggles with creating a positive culture that is empowering and that has integrity. So I find that a struggle to kind of think about where coaching falls in with that and how impactful it can be. And even in terms of the proposal that I would like to create for myself for a position that would get me out of the classroom to be able to apply more of what I'm learning in my program coursework. And finally, another thing that stood out was this sort of debate, or definitely an acknowledgement, that if you can have background training and background experience in psychology, it's definitely going to make your coaching abilities and awareness and practice much stronger. So that's pretty significant in my opinion. That would be something that if I were one day going to use coaching on a regular basis, I would probably want to look into that for myself, to know that I was going about things the right way. So that concludes my video journal, or my video submission. Here are my references. Thanks for listening.